Here we go. Let's go. It's Tuesday. Plenty to discuss on the Recap Lunch Hour with me, Guff, Ryan McGuffey, back at it here. And Ryan Poles has met the media this morning in his final, the traditional season-ending press conference at Halas Hall, which unfortunately always seems to be right after the last game of the season. And that's exactly what happened again today. You know, we've heard a lot of names. If you listen to if you've watched the Recap Rush Hour from yesterday, we had, I think, 10 names on the list. That list is up to 14 names on the Bears head coach search, and it's going to get even bigger. And there's some of the takeaways that I wanted to discuss right here from Ryan Poles when he talked about his biggest, not regrets, but disappointments from the season, what worked, what didn't work, and how they're going to go about their new head coaching search. And you can see here, he will cast, quote, a wide net in the search for head coach. Obviously, we know that with all the names. The thing that jumped out to me, it could include surprise names. Now, I think we've talked a lot about the PTSD of Chicago Bears fans, and I understand, like, surprise names gets everybody thinking about Mark Trestman. I think it could include somebody different. Like, somebody asked a question, it might have been Patrick Finley of the Sun-Times, asked about, would you trade draft capital? Does that include, would that include a surprise name by including draft capital? And he said, there'll be no stone unturned. Meaning he did not say, well, no, the draft capital means too much and that we aren't going to trade draft capital in terms of getting the head coach we want. I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like everything's on the table. Everything. And here we are. I'm looking forward to these surprise names. We're not going to know, they're not confirming any of the names until afterwards. So, tomorrow, Mike Vrabel is reportedly going to interview at Halas Hall, and that will be, the Bears will put that out after the interview is completed. Here, let's get to some comments. Carl, until the Bears fix the trenches, they're doomed to lose. The last question that Ryan Poles took today was about this exact topic, saying if he had to go back and do it again, is that something you'd go back and look at the protection that you had or didn't have for Caleb Williams? And of course, he said, the 30,000-foot view of things, they didn't do enough to protect Caleb because you never want that your quarterback getting hit that much. Simple Football Club says enough experimenting with a rookie head coach. Give an experienced head coach who can develop a culture. They don't have experience in developing head coaches. They need to pay big time money for their many mistakes. I agree with this. I would like to see somebody that's done the job before at a high level. To me, that's really only two guys when you're talking about head coach. I guess if you include Mike McCarthy, he's in that list, but it's Vrabel and Pete Carroll. I know everybody wants Ben Johnson. I am certainly on the Ben Johnson train if you think he's the guy that could lead your room. TSI Mike, what's up, my man? Appreciate all of you watching from Toronto Sports Insider. My guy TSI Mike is the best in the business. Jimbo, I'm doing well, my man. I hope you are too. Pablo, do you think giving Ryan Poles a list of head coaches to choose from in 2022 and waiting so long to fire Eberflus the last time this administration went to deal with the McCaskey way of doing things? I do think that definitely impacted him. The question, him wanting to fire Eberflus before the season, it was, like I've always said, it's an arranged marriage the last time with Eberflus. Hopefully he's allowed to do it himself. Here's the list that he did talk about who the search committee would be. Here's here's who's involved, and this is from Adam Johns on Twitter. Of course, he did iron this out and say here are the people that'll be involved. Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, George McCaskey will be part of this. Anybody who thinks George is getting out of the way, he's the chairman. Okay. At the end of the day, the chairman's always going to have a say in the head coach. Matt Feinstein and Jeff King, who are on Ryan Poles' staff. That's also going to include Liz Geist, who's the EVP of HR, Karen Murphy, who's the EVP of Stadium Development, COO, and a couple of other EVPs and SVPs. And some people are like, why are business and football coming together? Ryan goes into detail and explains why both have to pull from the same rope, why the football side of things and the EVPs and the SVPs, the football and operations have to be on the same rope. I get that, actually. What I don't like from this seems to me like it's a very clear cut, football people are making the decisions. Obviously, George is the chairman, But last time it was convoluted with kind of all these different people. It didn't make sense. You had the outside resource team of like Ernie Accorsi and Bill Polian giving their 2 cents. That was a bad move. So that's not happening this time. I like that. Jimbo, you want Chucky? I know, man. The Bears aren't going to be the team. I would be stunned. Keep these receipts. I would be stunned if the Chicago Bears brought in John Gruden. I just don't see the Bears being the team that's going to bring a guy with baggage on his resume. The real Phil Simms. Is it true about the stipulation in regards to Ryan Poles being fired in order for Ben Johnson to take the job? I was talking about this morning with a friend. No. First of all, you can't. There's a couple things here. Number one, Ryan Poles was asked directly if he's been given an extension and what that would look like in terms of candidates coming through the door. He said, completely understand it. I totally get those questions are going to be asked of me, and I'm going to let those candidates know. He said not publicly he's not going to talk about how long he's here or how much money he's making. That's been standard practice of the Chicago Bears. So maybe there's a chance that Ryan Poles has been given an extension. And my thing about Ben Johnson wanting to bring in his own GM, then he's not the guy for me. I'm being honest with you. He's great, but I'm not letting a head coach come in and tell me the rules in terms of, well, I'm bringing my guy and this is what I want, blah, blah. I want like my head coach saying, here are the rules, how I'm running this team and how I'm running the room, but not at the expense of like my job's on the line. I just not. Eric, I honestly don't care who we hires our next head coach one way or another. The McCaskies will ruin it and we'll start from square one. I hope that that's not true. I hope that this is the first time we actually get it right in a long ass time. I mean, Lovie Smith was right. We didn't know it at the time. How they fired him was completely wrong. Okay. I'm looking at here. I'm just looking for more notes. Also, the other takeaway, no issues. Ryan Poles went on record and wanted to make it clear there are no issues between President Kevin Warren and him at the GM position. He said that he was actually upset with some of the stuff that got out because he said it just wasn't true and he would have happily answered it. Tim says he said what he had to, but he says versus what the family does. Those are two vastly different things. I think a lot of people think, too, this could just be word salad. You know, there wasn't anything out there that was all like, oh, wow, this is news. The news to me was not the wide net. You got to cast a wide net. Some people are pissed. I've seen like in the comments on social. Some people are like, well, I don't want a wide net. Like find your 3 guys and go. You got what? Let me ask you a question. If you don't like the interview, like let's say you narrow it down to 3 people. You only interview 3 people. You like one interview. That guy goes somewhere else and gets hired by the New England Patriots. Let's call that Mike Vrabel. Let's say you're not impressed with 2 other candidates. First of all, the Rooney Rule states you have to have 2 in-person interviews with minority candidates. So the rules alone say you probably got to interview at least 5. I have no problem with the Bears getting as much information from as many people as possible. Hendricks likes Ben Johnson or Cliff Kingsbury. As we know right now, I do not believe Cliff Kingsbury is on the list unless that came out this morning and I didn't see it, which is interesting to me. Okay. That is definitely interesting. I'm looking here. I don't see anything about Cliff. I'm good with Cliff. I do not want Cliff Kingsbury as the Bears head coach. Daddy-O, he's going to go with the old sell, sell, sell now, which is pretty much the mantra for most Chicago sports teams these days. Here's another one about Kingsbury. Very good at screwing this up. What has Cliff Kingsbury, I'm being honest with you. I'm asking you guys now a rhetorical question. What has Cliff Kingsbury done as a head coach in the NFL that's got you saying, pound the pavement? That's my guy. I'll hang up and listen because I don't see it. And I could be wrong. I'm not saying guys can't get second and third chances at head coaching positions. Okay. I just am not the guy that's going to turn the keys over to Cliff Kingsbury when I haven't been impressed with what he's done in the past. The Bears did this morning request an interview with Joe Brady. That's not a surprise for what he's done in Buffalo. Okay. Not a surprise at all. Ted Cruz, the Bears' chief administrative officer, special advisor to President CEO, will also be part of the interview process to find the Bears' next head coach. He was part of the interview process in Kansas City when the Chiefs hired some guy named Andy Reid. In terms of draft capital, I want to go back. Courtney Cronin, she tweeted this. Ryan Poles on whether he'd explore giving up draft capital to trade for a head coach. Quote, we'll look at all avenues to get the best coach here. That means everything is on the table. Let's keep going through the questions here. Eric, what do you think about the Luis Robert to the Jays win? I love it. Here we go with baseball. Eric, I will take Luis Robert to anybody as long as the return warrants a trade. If you're selling pennies on the dollar, I keep him. Otherwise, I would not have him on our team. Chuck, Ryan Poles is but a walking shadow, a poor player that's first of all, don't talk about his playing career and attribute that to his success or lack thereof to being a GM. I just don't buy it. That struts and frets his hour upon the stage. Then is heard no more. He tells a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. All right, a lot of tributes to a lot of different things there, Chuck. Clearly not happy that Ryan Poles is still in the seat at the GM. Aaron, Ben Johnson not going to do this at any opening, so he might as well back out now if that's true. He's the first guy who actually confirmed he would take the interview, guys. Ben Johnson's very interested in this job. What up, Jess? How much worse can it get? Poles casting a wide net for potential head coaches, and Ted Phillips' influence is hopefully out of the building, which, in my opinion, had a hand in hiring Flus. I don't think you're wrong. He was not a threat. He was a nice guy who could be controlled by leadership. Look at the other teams, by the way, searching for a head coach, and look how many guys that they have asked permission for and put on their. This is not abnormal to cast a quote wide net. And then there's Jed. There's more baseball from Kurt. When does Jed wake up and get something done? It is after the new year. It is time. We have conventions coming up. Next weekend is Cubs convention, believe it or not. Jess, you have to have a wide net so you can catch the best fish, not the first fish. Jess, you say it so many times. You're so eloquent. There are so many times Jess just says it the way it needs to be said. I appreciate that. Phil, saw a story in regards to the Bears still trying to get a new stadium in Chicago since you invested money in Arlington. Yeah, this is crazy to me. Shovel in the ground in 2025. It's 2025. The stadium thing, it's like, to me, it's a tired topic at this point. Build the damn thing in Arlington Heights and let's move on. I think George will stay out of the way. I agree. Gruden is off the table. He won't get hired this cycle. I mean, you haven't even seen, there's like right now, Rex Ryan's on more interview lists than John Gruden. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth, people. I'm just telling you, like, this is a big representing an NFL franchise is a big deal. And anything with staying on it right now, what the Bears are right now, I don't think that's the right move. I don't. Leon, I'll look up if Hendrickson's a free agent, dude. You can make a case that he is the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He's not probably going to win it. He's a long shot, but he should be, because he is an absolute stud. And you're right. I would throw the kitchen sink at Hendrickson if Trey Hendrickson was available. Trey Hendrickson is signed. Let's see, signed a 4-year, $60 million deal. He might be a free agent here, man. He might be a free agent. 2023. His 24 cap number is increased by 2.67. He might look like he might be a free agent. I'll have to take a deeper dive on this. 2024 cap hit. Yeah, I think this free. Oh, no, not unrestricted until next year. So he's got one more year. So there you go. Bleacher Report saying Kingsbury is the top candidate. There's a big picture. I'll look up Cliff Kingsbury and the Bears for you guys. That's fine. I am telling you what I want. I don't want Cliff Kingsbury as the Bears head coach. And so if he gets the job, I guess I'll sit here and say, well, doesn't excite me. He's tied to the New York Jets. Right now, the Jets. Cliff Kingsbury is the second favorite right now per Bet Online. Ben Johnson's the favorite. Cliff Kingsbury, Aaron Glenn, and Flores are tied for third. Marcus Freeman is, when you said, now Marcus Freeman, that would be a surprise name. That would be a surprise name. Hopefully Poles learns from his mistakes. That's, I think, Blue Dan, at the end of the day, what we're all hoping for here. Okay? I think that's what we're all hoping for. And, if he doesn't, he's gone. Like, that's the simple thing here. TSI Mike, bet the Bills fans would give up McDermott if the team loses early. Just saying. I could tell you right now that the Bears would do a hell of a lot worse than McDermott I would take him in a second, especially a guy, you want to talk about building a culture and a program and a defense. Like, TSI Mike, Bills fans are frustrated. Give me McDermott. That's a great point. Underachieving teams in the playoffs. Like, could you see, like, if the Eagles were bounced, Sirianni, would you want him in Chicago? I don't know. McDermott's interesting. He's built a program. John Harbaugh's not going anywhere, even if the Ravens are bounced. Tomlin's not going anywhere. I'm talking about big-time teams here. Like, there was, Sirianni's like one of those guys. Like, could there be frustration? Like, is Mike Tomlin? Like, I said Mike Tomlin, but like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Houston, they're not doing anything with their coach. Andy Reid's not going anywhere. Harbaugh's not going anywhere. Sean Payton's not going anywhere. Sirianni could be. Dan Quinn's not going anywhere. Kevin O'Connell's not going anywhere. Dan Campbell's not going anywhere. Matt LaFleur's not going anywhere. Todd Bowles isn't going anywhere. And Sean McVay is always interesting to me. I can't make it to tonight's live show in Melrose Park as I got food poisoning. Oh, man, Pablo, get better, brother. Happy you're still here. Hope the Recap Lunch Hour fam comes out in strong numbers. Yeah, to your point, Pablo, tonight will be the final Feldco Football Recap Live. It is at Hooters. It is in Melrose Park. We need you there. We're going to have a fun time. The whole group's going to be there. We're going to party. You know what? Why not? The Bears season's over. We want to make sure you guys are out there. Come on out. Live at Hooters in Melrose Park tonight. Appreciate you, Pablo, for the heads up there because it's our last in-person show of the year. Now, we're hoping to be out in public a lot more as, opening day, stuff like that. But in terms of Bears, the last show is tonight. Phil, what the hell are the Cubs waiting for? Do they not want to be serious World Series contenders? Time to man up and handle business, Jed. Yeah, you're talking about World Series contenders and division contenders. Like right now, I think they're trying to win the division, and I still think they have 3 moves left to be made. Hendrickson, a dog. You're damn right he is. That dude is a dude. Pretty sure the Vikings cast a wide net when they hired O'Connell. Aaron, I'd have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure you're right. I'd have to go back and look at like who was on their list and then where it went from there. So great point. Great point. Ron, no words on a Poles extension. How can that not be a factor for a potential new coach if the GM is a lame duck? Ron, Poles addressed this morning. I think I honestly do think that he could have been extended. And that'll come out. Or with any new coaching candidate, maybe there's an extension to come after they line the contracts up. The Bears have never been public about money and years for their GMs, and he stood by that today. 30-second golf lesson says Poles is a joke. The McCaskies are worse. I'm done with this team and franchise. 30-second golf lessons. I'm happy you're here. I'll take care of it for you. You can be frustrated. Speaking of which, give me a 30-second golf lesson or two. I wouldn't mind one. Had a pretty good season, but I'll always take one from you. I'll figure out the Bears. You figure out my golf game. Makes sense because of the connection to Caleb. You're talking about Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah, but like, again, I could give 2 shits if he's great with Caleb, if he sucks for the other 52 men in the room. I want a guy who's a leader in the room. He's a CEO of this program. Cliff Kingsbury has been the CEO of programs, plural, in the past. Okay? He has been impressive in Washington as the offensive coordinator. Dan Quinn runs that show. Whether you think so or not, Dan Quinn is the CEO of that program. That's what I want in Chicago. I'm not, look, if Cliff Kingsbury is the head coach and we're sitting here a year from now, the Bears are 10-7, and they're sitting here ready to go to the wild card round, bring it on. Throw the egg all over me. But I'm telling you, of the list of guys that have already been named, I would take my chances on probably 7 or 8 of them over Cliff Kingsbury. That's just me. So, Lincoln Riley. Let me ask you, Lip Ripper, and I love you because you're great at betting. What is Lincoln Riley? Like, he's enough, like, you're talking, he has a $100 million contract at USC. He lives on the flipping cliff of the Pacific Ocean. and he is going nowhere fast with USC, meaning he will stay there as long as he wants. They just came off of an impressive bowl win that happened to be a loss on our bet of the day a couple of weeks ago. Why would Lincoln Riley leave for this job if the Bears aren't giving him $100 million? The Bears are not giving this next head coach $100 million. So I'm just asking, why Lincoln Riley? Why is he leaving? The Eagles have a hell of a roster. Yes, they absolutely do. You know why? Because they built it from the inside out. Very much like the Lions, that offensive line and that defensive front, that's why the Eagles are built to the Eagle. If you told me right now, hey, I'm looking into the future and the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't be happy. They're a boring team to me. They are. They're just but they're boring because they're big up front. They run the football. Tush push is a thing. They run it better than anybody, and that's how they built their team. The Rooneys will not release Tomlin in exchange for draft picks. They stuck with Cowher during his losing streak and stuck with Knoll during that losing streak. Tomlin not leaving. Yeah, Jess, I mean, look, Tomlin's never had a losing season in 18 years. But Tomlin could, let me tell you something. Tomlin could go to the Rooneys and say, look, man, I'm looking for a change of pace, something new. It's time. It's been almost 20 years. I want out. I guarantee you the Rooneys would let that happen. Now, they would do it at a cost, but there's too much respect and love for the Tomlin and the Rooneys and vice versa to not make. If he really went to management and said, guys, we've had an incredible run here. I'm just looking for something new for me and my family. I guarantee you that would happen. Guaranteed. David, Guff, ready for a White Sox World Series victory over the Cardinals in 2033. MLB.com's. Oh, is that true? I haven't even looked. So MLB.com has the White Sox beating the Cardinals in 2033. Okay, so that puts me, 53. And Cap will be somewhere off into the sunset by then. No, that's not true. In 2033, you won't be. You'll be 72 and killing it, kid. You'll be like Pete Carroll.
Yes.
The guy you don't want as head coach.
I'll be working.
I know.
I didn't say I didn't want him. I said he wouldn't be my first choice.
Okay. Vikings O'Connell was a last-second hire. Turned out pretty well, Leon.
Mike Vrabel. It's such a no-brainer.
Poles didn't rule out training for a head coach. Yeah, Mr. Perry. Like that's the surprise of all the comments he said, and most of it was word salad to me. Of all the things he said, you'll be surprised by some of the names on the list. That to me, again, a lot of people are going to the Mark Trestman name because like that's what's happened in the past. I'm being optimistic here, not pessimistic. To me, that's like maybe that means Sean McVay. Maybe that means Kyle Shanahan. Maybe that means Mike Tomlin. Maybe there is a hotshot college coach that Ryan Day. I don't know. Okay. Danny, yeah, maybe Oregon. I'm just saying, like, when I heard that was a good thing for me. And I will, like, I want to find some kind of positive here. Everybody else, like, we've had the surprise before and it's not been good. I understand. I get it. Tom, a man. Unfortunately, although the head coach is critical, so is the coach's staff. And unless the Bears release interview transcripts, we'll never know who is planning to bring whom. I just want the best coach.
Why do we need to?
We don't need I don't care how the interview went. I want a guy that's like, this is my team. Here's my plan. And come hell or high water, we're going to hit this. We're going to hit the goals. Okay. Like, we can't have both. Mr. Perry saying he didn't rule out training for a head coach, but I don't want to give up draft capital. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question. Joe Brady or Kyle Shanahan? I'll hang up and listen. Joe Brady or Kyle Shanahan? Joe Brady might be a Hall of Fame head coach. We don't know. But I know a lot more about Kyle Shanahan right now and what he's done with quarterbacks and building teams and programs than I do about Joe Brady. Look, the Bears draft picks have not been, it's not like there's some kind of history here of like, oh man, Ryan Poles has got that one right every single time. I'm just saying, if you're telling me the head coach is a stud, Swayze's not feeling Cliff, Ben, and Joe at the top of his list. So he's talking about Cliff Kingsbury, Ben Johnson, and Joe Brady. Steve Wood says sign Tomlin. Well, if it were that easy, I think the Bears would. But unfortunately, they'd have to trade, as just said here. The Rooneys would have to honor Tomlin, and Tomlin would have to be traded for. That's how it would go. A lot of baseball questions coming in here. Want to hit some of these, Cap? You'll be happy to know that young Sue, it looks like he might be coming out tonight in Melrose Park. Yes, I'll be there. Young
Sue's a star.
Young, of course. Guff, are you coming out tonight for Cap? Tuesday at Hooters and Melrose. Nah, I'm going to sit this one out. Young, you can take my place. I'm going to go home. Watch it live on YouTube.
He'll be there, young Sue.
I'll watch it live. If they were able to trade for Shanahan, count me in, says Swayze. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's 2 number ones, Swayze.
I'm in. 2
number ones.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have to trade 2 number ones. Cap's over there. What if it's 2 number ones? I don't think it would be 2 number ones. I don't. I don't.
Ask Steve. He says hire Tomlin. Ask him Tomlin versus Mike McCarthy.
Tomlin or Mike McCarthy, guys. There's going to be a lot of people. I had to talk to my buddy off a ledge today, by the way, who was like, he's like, if it's Mike McCarthy, I'm out. Why? He has more playoff wins than the Bears do ever.
Mike McCarthy has a better record than Mike Tomlin.
He has a better record than Mike Tomlin. He has a Super Bowl. Yes, he's the coach of the Cowboys. That comes with warts anyway, by the way. Like being the head coach of the Cowboys comes with some stain on it, only because of the GM/owner. But he's gone like what, 10-7, 12-5, 12-5. They were 7-10 this year. They didn't have a quarterback for like 7 weeks.
They lost Micah Parsons for a while.
And their defense went, by the way, when Dak Prescott was healthy, gave up so many damn points that they had no shot. Mike McCarthy, listen to these points that the defense gave up. 44, 28, 47, 30, 27, 34, 34. Thanks for helping out. Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush played more than Dak Prescott this year. I would not mind Mike McCarthy. I'm not kidding. They could do so much worse. Pablo, funniest part of the last live show is Cap introing for Waddle and Alex Brown. Waddle, Chicago legend and first team All-Madden. Tom Waddle. Brown, former Satan, 7th on Bear sack list. Alex Brown, LOL. He's not 7th, he's 4th. Hendricks is not sold on Tomlin. Who you want, Hendricks? Lip Ripper says McCarthy wouldn't be horrible, but not ideal. Is Cap in the background? Is that your conscience? Both. How about that, Landon? Carrie, to the people yelling at Jed in this chat, all of baseball is quiet right now for the most part. We're waiting for the Sasaki shoe to drop. Look at Carrie, the educated baseball fan, trying to silence the crowd. Jess, the Bears today would like to have a coach that would get them to the playoffs. Of course, that's the goal. Mike, they said they need to do better than McCarthy. Dude, there are not many resumes out there that are better than Mike McCarthy. You might have to take a deeper dive on some of these coaches. Hendrick wants Ben Johnson. You better be – if Ben Johnson's the guy, which if he is, I'm ecstatic. Don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you, you better be right that he can read the room and lead the room. Go get McVay or Shanahan, Mike. I agree, man. Like, I think that's definitely – I would call the Rams about McVay. We already know – first of all, I'd call about any of the best coaches in the game. I would call. I would call right now and just say, hey, is this guy available? They can laugh in your face, but that's fine. I'm putting the bet of the day together as we speak. Tough one last night. For those of you who laid the Victor Wembanyama. We'll talk about that here in just a second as we wrap things up. A couple more comments here. Jimbo says McCarthy's a hard pass, but would it not stick it to the Packers? I mean, I don't know why. Okay, Ben Johnson for sure. Everyone's saying Ben Johnson. I hope you guys know that Ben Johnson could be a stud. I'm not pissing on Ben Johnson as the Bears head coach. I love the idea. He's so damn creative. Lip Ripper, before we get to Guff's bet of the day, you got a couple in here. Lip Ripper's going to go with college basketball tonight. UNLV alum Lip Ripper so he has a little bit more inside information, taking the over 141 in UNLV Boise State, and he's taking Tennessee plus the points at Florida. I like that pick. I like Tennessee plus 3 there.
Oh, I'm all over Florida.
I'm not saying I'm betting that. I just like the idea. I also see another sharp pick here. Cap's all over Florida. My buddy who's a sharp is all over Florida, -3. Speaking of which, we might as well get to it since we're talking betting. Let's get to today's bet of the day. Well, last night was tough because so here's the deal. The Bulls had a very impressive win last night. We're not happy about it. They had a very impressive win. They came back at a dominant fourth quarter, came back and won. Victor Wembanyama had 22 points to start the fourth quarter. He had 22. We needed 6 points. It was a tight game. We needed 6 points out of Wembanyama in the fourth quarter to hit the over. He scored 1 point the rest of the game, and large part as to why the Spurs lost. The Bulls came back, won 114-110, and we just cannot get to 500. So now we're 8-10-1. Tonight we're going to the hardwood ourselves, Lip Ripper. We're going to lay the 3.5 with the Iowa Hawkeye, Fran McCaffrey. We're going to lay 3.5, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Okay? I figured I'd keep it local today with Iowa. Give you guys a quick score here. Not score, but you know what I mean. The Iowa Hawkeyes are at home tonight on Peacock against the Nebraska Cornhuskers and Fred Hoiberg. I'm laying the 3.5, taking the Iowa Hawkeyes. Couple of last-second comments here. Even Jalen Johnson said, go after Ben Johnson or someone offensive mind for Caleb. Jalen, like me, believes. Look, I'm all in on Ben Johnson. I just want you still got to interview all these guys. You got to be right. Trust Jalen Johnson. Would rather win 35-31. That I agree with. Hendricks, that part I agree with. All right, guys, let's wrap this puppy up. A lot came out of what Ryan Poles had to say. A lot of word salad. But who are these surprise candidates? There's 14 that we know about right now. It's going to start with Mike Vrabel. I personally would bring Mike Vrabel in tomorrow. I wouldn't let him leave the room. Give him the contract. Give him the keys. Let's drive this puppy to new horizons. For all of us here at the Recap, come out tonight. Last call. Come up tonight. Melrose Park. Feldco Football Recap Live. Cap Alex Brown, Tom Waddle live at Hooters in Melrose Park. Show begins at 8. We'll be there as early as 5. Come up, say hi, introduce yourselves. Let's talk. Let's figure out the solution to the Bears, and we'll go from there. For my entire team here at the Recap, I'm Ryan McGuffey. This has been the Recap Lunch Hour, and we'll see you tomorrow.